Now call to order the Wytheville Town Council meeting Monday, July 10th, 2023 at 5 p.m. held at the Municipal Building at 150 East Monroe Street in Wytheville. We do have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Gilman.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. At this point, I would need it to be accepted as presented or somehow amended.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Gilman?
Aye.
Patterson, aye.
Taylor, aye.
Johnson, aye.
Just FYI, we can consider a recess at 6 p.m. if so needed. Next is the consent agenda, which consists of one event, and that's the minutes of the regular meeting of June 26, 2023. I'll need a motion to accept as presented or somehow amended.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Right, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Any opposed? And that motion passes. Next on the agenda is to consider a resolution setting forth the meeting dates and times and place of the regular meetings of the Wytheville Town Council for June 24, 2024. And Town Manager Freeman will address council at this time.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. This, I believe, should be fairly self-explanatory, but just for your information, the Code of Virginia does require that you adopt a regular meeting schedule each year. And what we've proposed is just keeping with the second and fourth Mondays of each month and keeping the meeting times at 5 p.m. Those are listed in your packet on page 15 as a resolution to do so. So if you have any questions, please let me know. We'll still just plan to do work sessions as needed, as requested, to dig into specific items in lengthier meetings and in more detail. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. Does anybody at council have any questions for Mr. Freeman regarding this? All right, so consideration by town council to adopt the resolution. This will be a roll call vote. Councilwoman Johnson?
Aye.
Taylor? I'm sorry, I stepped in. Need a motion to adopt this. I need a motion first.
Assuming.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Is there any further discussion? None. This again will be a roll call vote. Councilwoman Johnson?
Aye.
Taylor? Aye.
Patterson, aye.
Gilman, aye.
Next is to consider a resolution authorizing an application to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, for funding to be used for equipment. And again, Town Manager Brian Freeman will address council.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packet on page 18 is a boilerplate loan resolution that all public bodies who are obtaining loans from USDA Rural Development must pass. This is for the garbage truck and the desert air unit that you all are well aware of, that we're in need of. This is just a formality, essentially. Basically, they've given us the boilerplate with fill in the blanks. This essentially has authorized the town manager to execute documents on behalf of the town to complete the financing package.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Freeman? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the loan resolution for the dehumidifier and the sanitation vehicle.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. This will be a roll call vote. And we'll start with, Councilman Gilman,
Patterson, aye.
Taylor, aye.
Johnson, aye.
So the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is consider the reappointment of Mr. Dennis Manuel to the Building and Code Appeals Board. Term expires July 26, 2023. You have a motion?
I move that we accept Mr. Daniel's application again. The Building Code Appeals Board.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, will. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes, and congratulations to Mr. Dennis Manuel. Next on the agenda is consider the adopting the revision of the Freedom of Information Act policy, and Town Clerk Sherry Corbin will address this.
Okay, as of July 1, there were a couple of changes to the Freedom of Information Act laws that require a couple of changes in our policy. One is for if you accept electronic payments, you should list that in your policy. And so that change has been made on page 27 of your package. And then also they wanted us to list how that we calculated staff time. So that's been addressed on page 27 as well. But those are the only two housekeeping amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Corbin. So I will need a motion to adopt as presented. Ms. Corbin,
I so move that we adopt the Freedom of Information Act policy amendments.
thank you. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye as well. Any opposed? That motion passes. And we are now at 6 this time. Mr. Jones, would you like to come up and you'll state your name and
Everything else.
everything else?
Yeah, so I'm Charlie Jones. Just here filling in for Todd, who has fractured a tooth. So I was getting that extracted today. So just wanted to thank everyone, especially you all, for a great 4th of July. We couldn't have done it without all the great partnerships with the town of Wytheville, with the police department, with fire, with EMS, with public works, with Visit Wytheville, with everyone that was there. It's a little tricky to figure out numbers, but based on what the fire chief and us were trying to compute, we're pretty sure this was the largest event we've ever had, and upwards of 6,500, maybe 7,000 people in downtown, which, to the best of our knowledge, is the best single-day attendance of an event in the town of Wytheville. Every business that we've talked to reported record sales. We had multiple businesses almost completely sell out of everything, which is really great. And overall, it was just a really great event. So if you have any questions about it, just let us know.
I just want to thank Downtown Wytheville and their board and all their volunteers and all the other volunteers that got to help the volunteers and all the town people. So we thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
all so
all of your
much.
hard work.
Good job.
Thank you.
Anybody else during citizens period? All right, we'll move forward on our reports, and first staff reports by Town Manager Brian Freeman, please.
I'm going to sound like a broken record.
Before I do, I just want to let you all know, I think I may have it in an email, but just in case you haven't seen it or I failed to get that out. Several employees have reached out to me since you all awarded the 3rd of July off. Many of them wanting to thank me for it, but I wanted them to understand that was not something that I did, that you all did that. So I just wanted to share with you all that many of them have expressed their gratitude for awarding the additional day off for the 4th of July. Also, to echo what Mr. Jones said, the downtown 4th of July celebration appears to have been a great success with classic cars, food, vendors, parade, kids' activities, and a lot of great music. I was able to bring my children down, my significant other and her two children, and we were able to come down for a few hours in the evening, enjoy the fireworks, listen to some music. We got shaved ice and just really enjoyed it. Estimated attendance was about 7,000. But the event could not have been a success without the planning and preparation of downtown Wytheville, its many volunteers, their sponsors, Visit Wytheville, and the tireless work of the various town departments, including Public Works, Police, Fire, EMS, who all worked in the days and weeks leading up to and throughout the event to make sure it was enjoyable for all. Emergency services did treat about 17 people throughout the day. 7 of those were for heat-related illnesses and one diabetic emergency that resulted in about 7 people being actually transported to the hospital. Just wanted you to know they were quite active that day. Not to I don't know, put any negativity on the event, but just to know that they were there, they were present and available, and were well needed. So kudos to the personnel that were able and present to help on all those matters. In similar news with police, fire, and EMS, during the last week of June, we had about 30 children who participated in the Kids Public Safety Camp offered by the Town of Wytheville Museums, the Police Department, Fire, and EMS departments. The children were able to also, in participating was Highlands Emergency Rescue Transport. I know that throughout that, I believe it was that last day of it, the sirens were over. And I think the kids must have got a kick out of the sirens because they went off for literally several hours on end. And then the grand finale, I believe, was bringing in the chopper to land in Withers Park. And I think the kids really enjoyed that. But this gives the children the opportunity in the community gives them exposure to many facets of public safety in a very positive and encouraging environment. Participants ran obstacle courses consisting of an over and under drill, zigzag drill, a hose drag, fire attack. They did the Nerf gun 3-gun challenge, hands only 30 compression CPR, and a sprint to the finish line. They also enjoyed a day of hands-on training with crime scene photography, fingerprinting, shoe impressions, trace evidence, DNA, hair and evidence collection, grid search, alternate light sources, you name it. They even did interrogations and lab analysis. So this is a wonderful collaboration amongst many departments, and I'm very pleased that we were able to offer it again this year. So thanks to all who did that. I did want to mention to you all that in light of some of the recent emphasis that's been placed on speed enforcement, that I don't want to call it a crackdown, but we are a little more active with some speed enforcement in the last few weeks, and will remain so for the next few weeks. Not to say that we weren't, but there's been some areas that there is some emphasis being placed on as we speak. Last thing I want to mention was you all did get placed at your seats a letter that we received today from District 3 Senior Services or Governmental Cooperative that is interested at our request to explore some additional routes for underserved persons in the community who may not live close to a bus station or may need extended hours to get to and from their workplaces. District 3 has responded and said they would do a trial, what they're calling an X route, and add about 50 hours a week of service. They think if they can get they said they would potentially be launched in the fall of 2023, but the timeline depends on the delivery of new buses and adequate staffing. So I think that's an optimistic timeline for them, but hopefully that could come to fruition. And should we agree to allow this, then they would not ask for an additional match requirement until July of 2024. And it states in the letter that the match requirement would be about $12,480. So I don't think you don't need to make a decision on that tonight. Just wanted to get it in front of you, and then perhaps at the next meeting we'll make this an agenda item and see if you all would like to give them the go ahead to do the X-Bus trial route in the fall. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Raymond. Next on reports, upcoming meetings, and this will be given by Town Clerk Sherry Corbin, please.
Okay, the first one is the Wytheville Recreation Commission will meet on Wednesday, July the 12th at 5:30 at the Wytheville Community Center. The Wytheville Planning Commission will meet on Thursday, July the 13th at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. Downtown Wytheville will meet on Monday, July the 17th at 5:30 at the Downtown Wytheville office. The Wytheville Redevelopment and Housing Authority will meet on Wednesday, July the 19th at 12 p.m. at the Housing Authority office. The New River Regional Water Authority will meet on Thursday, July 20th at 10 a.m. at the water plant in Austinville. District 3 will meet on Thursday, July 20th at 6 p.m. at the Marion office. And the next regular meeting of the Wytheville Town Council will be held at 5 p.m. on Monday, July the 24th, here in the council chambers. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. We proceed to other business, and under other business is miscellaneous and council member time. So we'll proceed with miscellaneous at this point. I was just going to let you council members know that the airport commission has reached out to council and invites any council members who would like to come and get a tour and watch the planes land and take off, or go to their board meetings, and they welcome anybody that would like to attend. So now we'll go to council member time. And Mr. Gilman, we'll start with you, please.
I have nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time.
Ms. Johnson.
I would just like to thank Ms. Corbin for keeping us up to date and informed with the FOIA updates. We really appreciate you and all the work that you do. Thank you.
Is that it? If not, if anybody wants to say anything, I'll go ahead with mine. I just did want to let everybody know that we have a new ice cream sandwich shop in town. It's called Frozen in Time. If you haven't been there, good place to take the grandkids on Tazewell Street. And I'm going to bring this up one more time and ask for some council input, please. We talked about possibly in 9/11 doing making a town event for our first responders, like a breakfast on the streets, and having the churches around provide the breakfast, because some of them are used to doing that. I haven't heard any input from council the last couple of times, so I'd like some input, so I'd rather not know whether to proceed or not proceed.
So this commemorative day would recognize all of our first responders.
And basically what the churches are used to doing is the state police, our police, fire and rescue, and the county sheriff's office. And one more in there. But that's who they included in their breakfasts the last several years.
Okay, and where is it hosted?
Well, before COVID, it was hosted at St. John's Church. Since COVID, it's been a delivery at 5 to 5:30 a.m. to each entity. And unfortunately, it depends on the day, because the church wanted it on that day. There might only be 2 people on that shift if it's a Sunday morning. But someone from the church would go and talk to each entity and ask them when they would like to get it delivered. And usually that's what happened. So if we did it outside, that would just kind of be open to any of them that could come in for their breakfast. And we can build on it and talk about it, but it's coming up close, so.
It is a Monday this year, just for reference.
So is it just one church involved, or is it different
Well, it
churches?
had only been one church involved, but my mission, or what I'd like to do is to have several churches, any churches that want to contribute to the breakfast.
Okay. Has anybody reached out to the other churches or anything?
Well, I haven't because we've been in dialogue with us yet. Nothing
So I
concrete.
think you would like to take it out to the street, essentially, right?
I would like for, yes, there'd be a town event and invite the churches to do the food, but it'd be a town event. So that means, if we have to set up some tables, we have to set up some tables. If we need to talk, we need to talk. And we can decide as council what we want to be included in that. Because the only thing that's ever been is here's some food. And the only people that got to really appreciate it were the people that were coming, switching duties night and day. That sort of stuff.
What time of the day do you normally host it? Do you host it during the shift change?
We did it at their request. They wanted it at the night and morning shift change. So therefore it was like 5:30 in the morning for a lot. That's what
So,
we do. But what I was proposing is that we do it like at 9 or something in the reasonable time in the morning in daylight, and just have open it up and let any first responders come take in instead of just the one or two that.
I do like the idea of having it during a shift change because it can be beneficial to all shifts. 9 o'clock, your night shift people are at home asleep. So I would prefer that it be done during their shift change and possibly maybe at Elizabeth Brown Park because that is in the area where all of the rescue, police department, sheriff's department is up the hill, and the police department, fire and rescue, are over across from that. So that would be I think a convenient location for them because of their shift change. And as they're changing shift, they can pick up their breakfast as they're going in, as they're coming out, if they choose to. I think that would be more beneficial than having it at church throughout.
Right, and I would have to, get a list of churches and reach out to them and see how many of them are willing to actually deliver food at that time of the morning, and ask the entities what shift change they want to do. Do they want to do the morning? Do they want to do the evening? Do any of them have just evening and what, or does any of them have 3 shifts?
Our police are working 12s, so they sort of and then you've got the admin folks or the officers. I'll say officers is probably misleading, but your supervision, your lieutenants, your assistant chief, your detectives, generally speaking, are working regular 8 to 5, 9 to 5 type shift. But then the others, patrol division is on 12, rotating 12s, EMS is on 24s. And I'd have to check in to see when those shift, if there's overlap there. And I'm just not sure.
Police department, I think they change at 5:45.
I
They
think
begin
that's
their
right. I
briefings
think
at
they're 6 to
5:45.
6s.
Yeah, that's why we moved to live at 5:30 and everybody else.
So Beth, Mayor Taylor, was the primary focus of the event on the breakfast itself, or were you thinking there'd be words, prayers, speakers?
I think it can be whatever council would like it to be, but I mean, we can just start off simple and just invite them to breakfast. If we would like to have a speaker or a local, priest or something, just like we do in other entities, that would be very welcome. I just hadn't had any feedback, so I just wanted to know which direction we just need to go. I just need to let the church know that they've been doing it, and I'll go from there. It's no big deal. I just need some feedback.
Maybe instead of a speaker due to people getting off work, just let it be something as an appreciation. We have breakfast for you, or if you decide to do it in the evening, we have dinner and lunch for you. Just as an appreciation versus people coming in having to sit down and listen to a speech. Right.
I was trying to think if there was a way to bridge the two ideas, have the breakfast, but still have a more formal
Yeah, well, I mean, it's always been just food.
Right.
And, put a little part in it and appreciate it.
And if all the other churches would be afforded an opportunity to participate versus just being one church, allow all the churches in the community to participate in it. I'm sure there are other people that would probably like to do that.
Any input from,
Talk to other churches and see what you can come up with.
I think there'll be several churches who want to participate. I think so that, even if it comes down to still just one or two or three, it's still, the effort's still there and the appreciation is still there for the first responders that want to, or can, all who want to, but can't come and, do some take home bags or, whatever, all that stuff. I just needed a direction to go to and just get council's presence if that's what they want. If they don't, that's okay.
Sounds good to me.
Right, so we have a couple people that we could move forward. We talked with Mr. Freeman about that, or Mr. Freeman, you said we're going to make a town event, do we need to vote on it, or?
Well, I don't know what we're voting on. I mean, if it's just, I don't think you need to vote on it unless you're trying to close a street or something like that. I don't think you are. I mean, it sounds to me like,
Well,
I don't
think
want to create
because-
you all a committee, but it sounds like you kind of, I don't know how y'all, maybe a couple of you can spearhead it. And then if you just need staff
Well, we would-
resources,
yeah,
I think
we
you've
would
got,
probably need some
certainly.
tables or something like that.
Sure,
to put
sure,
food on,
sure.
and not necessarily seating, because it,
I think if it sounds like it's it's not really terribly formal. So I don't get the sense that you need to vote on it.
yeah. Ms. Johnson, said it very eloquently, it's just a big thank you and we appreciate them and
But even, I was thinking, she said Elizabeth Brown right before you said it, I was thinking, well, maybe we could use the pavilion at the farmer's market or something, and that way have covered shelter. But I mean, wherever you all think to do it, just let us know what resources you need, and if we'll make sure.
What kind of participation have you had in the past years?
well, the couple of years before COVID, it was low to mediocre. Just because of the timing, doing it early in the morning, of course, during COVID, all the food was delivered, and so it was, as the ships came through and whatever, that they could participate if the business partners didn't eat it all. But there's always plenty for them for several shifts.
And the food would be donated by the churches that participate. Is that correct? Okay.
I think it's a grand idea. We just need to get the particulars worked out. And I personally like having it down under a covered shelter at farmer's market. We don't know what the weather might be that morning. Just a possibility.
Yeah, and that would be one less chore, if you will, that town staff would have to put up a tent or something like that. So, on a Monday, it's not an issue.
I think it's a grand idea, and I like Ms. Johnson's idea. Show appreciation.
Johnson, would you agree to kind of help me with this? think that's a no. I'll get the ball rolling.
Well, we can have-
You find yourself on a lot of committees, Ms. Johnson, let's be honest.
Ms. Johnson, I'll help you.
I don't know if I want to be, if I can spearhead or not, but I will be willing to help with, ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through it for 5-6 years now, so I know it doesn't take much. When you have ladies at the church. And all we had to do is deliver. I'm just talking about
Okay.
getting it together.
I think that we should be able to work together in unison to get it done. How about that?
Any other comments from council member time? Hearing none, council feels need to go into closed meeting pursuant to 2.2-3711A1, discussion regarding the town attorney position. This requires a motion and a vote. I have a motion.
I move that we go into closed session.
Anyone have a second? Is there any dialogue? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. You're now going to go into closed session. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening.
Have a good evening.
Yep.
We need to certify a closed meeting. And after the closed meeting, it is necessary to reconvene into open session by stating that the town council is now in open session. A motion is necessary to certify that only matters lawfully convening to the open session were discussed. So I will need a motion of such.
I hereby move that council authorize town manager Brian Freeman to execute a contract for temporary legal services.
We need a motion to come in
Oh, to come
open
back
session.
in. Okay, I'm sorry.
Will you do
I
that?
hereby move that we come back in session.
Okay, so we have a motion to come back in open session. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, so this will be a roll call vote. Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Taylor, aye.
Patterson, aye.
So we are now in open session. And we have a citizen here that would like to address council. Mr. Johnson, is that what you said?
No, you know.
Can you come up to the?
Don't put me in jail.
Go ahead. But if you just come up to the mic and say your name and your address for the minute,
David
and then we'll be
Johnston.
glad to.
It's
we'll be glad to
650
listen.
South 10th Street in Wytheville. No, Mayor Taylor and Brian, and I don't know Fort Bill. No, half the town of Wytheville.
Mr. Johnson, do you think you can do this in about 5 minutes' time?
Oh yeah, half of Wytheville. That's the reason we're not coming to council meetings, because, like I said, it shows 6 p.m. when you first pull up the website. Well, I've been having a problem, with the guy down next door there. I've got all the deeds, all the sewer bank plats, everything on top of that hill they were. And that is, even the railroads come out and look at this. That's the federal fence line. That fence line goes to what used to be the livestock market. And he says, after a cattle fence line goes up, or a horse goes up, said, after it goes up, it does not come back down. He says that's the reason we use the 5-inch square fencing with 2 rails of barbed wire across the top. I said, I know it, because I said, well, you've been at my house for suppose. They said, I got the property right there on the other side of the right of way. They said, well, town calls it an alleyway, but they said it's right of way. They said that guy right there in the corner don't have nothing to do with this up here. And Brian, he's got five driveways to get into his house off 10th Street, with that coming back there cutting down the right of way line and running up down through it. I mean, I had Sergeant Lester from the police force come up there the other day and looked at it last week. I said, I want you to look at this one more time. That's exactly what he's talking about. He said, yeah, he had a tree to fall down right there, and he just cut it all off right there in the right of way, or alleyway. I said, poor Mr. Neighbors, Jack Neighbors, Jackson, still got his warehouse up here on Redwood Avenue. Mr. Neighbors and his son Franklin, they're the ones started the livestock market up there. That's the reason that right of way is down through there, so he can get from the livestock yard to his warehouse. And Mr. Hale wants to call all our black people. Said, that black boy in there. I said, who? That black boy lives in there. I said, wait. I said, you can hold on 1 minute. I said, that black person, excuse me, stand down because when you talk about this point, you know I ain't racist. I said, one thing, I said, that ain't a boy. I said, that's a slur, racist term from years ago. And I said, even the black word is off the brook. I said, that man has got a name, and he ain't no boy. I said, he push mows 4.5 acres of his lot, which joins that right away, and mows it. Me and Mr. Neighbors had been keeping it clean. It got
Mr.
pointed.
Johnson, can you tell council why you're here
Well,
about the alley? Just kind of narrow it down so that everybody understands why
Well,
you're here.
we closed the one down between 14th Street and 16th. Is that right? Did the last meeting?
Correct.
How come we can't close down the right of way between 10th and 8th?
I think that, I will let Mr. Freeman.
Well, I will give you a copy of the policies and procedures for the town to request an abandonment or vacation of a public right of way. So I'm gonna give you that.
Well, see, Brian, all of us is agreed that Brian, we all know what the boundary lines are at.
Well,
This last guy that moved in on Railroad Avenue, so he don't even have anything to do with that back there. To me, to me, that's destruction of town property or state property.
Well, I went and looked at it again today. I was the 10th time I've looked at it.
Did you see all the tire marks down through there?
Mr. Johnson, it's just grass. And I didn't even see nearly a harmed blade of grass, frankly. But I don't want to argue with you. I just wanted to talk about the facts.
Well, like I said,
Mr. Hales, based on 3 different land surveys that you have copies of, Mr. Hales' property it's indisputable that it bounds the right of way. He is a citizen of the town of Wytheville, the property that joins that right of way. He has a right of passage over that land in the
Brian,
public
I
right.
hate to tell you, but according to federal government, state government, and federal.
Well, they're not here tonight.
Well, federal transportation, they say no.
Mr. Johnson, have you received any paperwork from the federal government or the state?
I've got one right here, DC from Morgan Griffin.
I would like a copy of that, please.
And Morgan gave me another number. Oh, get hold of the Attorney General. Morgan Griffin, we got any more problems? Come back, contact them later. And we got 2.
Okay, you can step back over to the podium and she'll bring your copy back.
I mean, to me, I know what the town charter says. I mean, right back to square one when the town
But
charter.
we have a process that we are sharing with you is how to go forward with your concern and request.
Well, I'm speaking for the other 3 neighbors because Mr. Braxton, excuse me, Mr. John, he's black. And everybody puts him down because he's black. The man was born and raised in a house.
Yeah, but I don't think that's relative to the alley and.
We're the one keeping it clean.
Yeah.
Me and Mr. Braxton and Mr. Neighbors. Mr. Hale, look back at your record, Mr. Hale been bringing junk cars in. Because he came back to turn in 15-foot driveway. Working on them, putting them back together and reselling them. This man does not have a business license. He don't have an LLC license. I pulled that up with Virginia because I got told, well, I know everybody in Richmond. Richmond said, Mr. Hillry's son, either one don't have a license to do business. And we consider that a business.
Well, we really appreciate you coming tonight, and dear Mr. Johnson, and we do have some information for you. And as soon as she gets that copy, I think that's about all we can accomplish with your concerns this evening, and you can fill out those papers. And
Well, I mean,
Ms. Johnson will look at your copy here.
well, I mean, I tried it. I bought Ryan.
Okay, so this copy from the Congress of the United States House of Representatives, Washington, D.C., dated June the 1st, 2023. Dear Mr. Johnson, thank you for contacting my congressional office. Although this matter does not fall under federal jurisdiction, and in an effort to be of assistance to you, I'm including information on local resources that you may find helpful to you. Office of the Attorney General of Virginia, Office of Civil Rights, 202 North 9th Street, Richmond, Virginia, 23219.
And I believe we did receive a correspondence from the Office of the Attorney General.
Well, see, the one I've got, it's been the same one at the bottom of it. It's got signed. Morgan Griffin.
Sincerely yours, H. Morgan Griffith, Member of Congress. This is what we have. And once again, it says, although this matter does not fall under federal jurisdiction.
All right, you see that 804 number on there? At the top, or halfway down to the 804 number that's got a fax number.
Mhm.
Somehow the messages don't get to the 804 number. When you call the Attorney General, that phone call gets intercepted.
Okay, that is not our jurisdiction.
Well, hang on, man. Let me finish it. Chris Memrick, Brian, you probably know, he was here. He's our town attorney. He is now our assistant attorney general.
Or VDOT.
Well, according to our reason, according to the state statute,
He has reached out to, we have correspondence from Chris Minner, who is the former town attorney, who works for the Office of the Attorney General, who also says that it is not under his purview. It is not a state matter. It's not a federal matter. It is a town public right of way, Mr. Johnson. We're trying to help you understand that.
Oh, I understand it, all right. So we'll just go to federal court. I mean, last time I was in here, you told me not to call you. Don't talk with the council no more.
I've told you not to talk to the council anymore. Mr.
You want
Johnson,
to check the council, last council meeting? Here was here.
So,
but to be clear, Mr. Johnson, what I've told the staff is that they do not have to expend any additional resources on this matter, and I'm firm in that. We calculated at one time we had over 100 hours of staff time in this thing, and it's all to the same conclusion that it's a public alley. Mr. Hale is not harming anyone. The fence being torn down, it was a fence that was already laying down.
No, he tore it down.
And it's a fence between Mr. Hale and the town of Wytheville, not Mr. Hale and Mr. Johnson.
That was the town. That was the county right away.
None of this is relevant to
Well, when the town automatically annexes, you can't move a federal marker or a state marker. Yes, sir. You cannot move property
Mr. Freeman, I'd
boundary.
like to intervene if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, Mr. Johnson, we appreciate you coming this evening. You were gracious enough and give you plenty of time. If you have the paper, you have the understanding of what that letter said, you fill out your paperwork, and
So in other words, we need to go to federal court for this.
I don't think it said federal court is not.
That's where our other state attorney, assistant attorney general down Roanoke said. That's what the marshal service said down Roanoke. That's what ATF said in Roanoke.
Do you have that in writing?
That's on telephone. Chris Memrick called ATF because Mr. Hill pulled a gun on me. That's when Chris Memrick called ATF in Roanoke. Them boys in there know me real well. I used to work for the drug task force. And they
Do
said,
you
"What
have that
got?"
in writing?
No. But I can give you the name of everybody I talked to there.
Documentation is very
And I know
important.
state police has been by my house 5 times. They got a record of it.
Do you think closing the alley would correct all that?
It would take care of all that, Brian. In fact, if you go back, actually look at the maps, the actual maps, because I got them all. I got them dated back to 1856. They didn't even make it to the courthouse until 1858 because the Civil War was going on. Wytheville went with two lane street then. I mean, everybody says, well, we go by Tom J. Board's map. Tom J. Board also got notes in his maps. If that goes back to the county or should be annexed by anybody else, that's all roadways.
So, Mr. Johnson, I think when you fill out your paperwork, all that information that you say will be gathered by you and presented with your paperwork to an attempt to close the alley. That's about what we can offer you at this point. And we really appreciate you coming, but that's about all we can offer you at this point. Fill out the paperwork, get all your data together on paper, make it all legal, and bring it into to management, and we'll go from there. But I'm not saying that the alley is going to be just closed if you do that. We have to look at all that paperwork, and your neighbors also who are on that alley have to have part in this. It's not a one part.
Mr. Neighbors, the only one's got his property back there 'cause that's his warehouse. It's got a back entrance to his warehouse. Like I said, Mr. Hale's got 5 driveways coming off 10th Street. His property, his address is at Railroad Avenue. I am the only person lives on South 10th Street. Like I said, I got every deed, every map. I'm over here in close Richmond. You can't sell a piece of land or anything like that, because it's all got to go through Richmond. I even went to the Congress of Library in Richmond, where they got all land transactions.
Again, Mr. Johnson, we really appreciate you coming in, and we're going to close this meeting, and so we're going to be done for the evening. So if you can go ahead.
But off the record, let me ask you one thing. What is the difference in this town council here doing their job and then what Wayne's up on to? What's the difference?
I don't think there's much difference. We're all still working for the same.
Wayne Sutton gave me strict orders. He says, I don't care what you do. He went right over and asked Trevor. Trevor pulled it up for him. He said, Wayne, that's right here what he wants to do. We got any utilities down there? And says, Trevor said, we ain't got nothing. That is the old right of way off the livestock market up there. He said, we ain't got nothing. Like I told Mr. Sutton, I said, Wayne, I said, y'all can do it. Or I said, I can do it. I said, when y'all do it, I said, it's a hand-laid stone rock wall back there. I said, that rock wall comes down. I said, the town's put it back. I said, it's not going back cinder block. It ain't going back concrete. It's going back rock. And see, the problem is, everybody calls this a historical section with, or the street up here runs parallel to Main Street. That ain't historical section with.
Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming.
So
We're going to close the meeting.
So we need to get a better report in.
Meeting is adjourned. Well, excuse me, I think we have one more item. Apologize.
Right.
So you're welcome to sit down, but we have one more thing of business to take care of. And we need to consider contracts for legal services. Mr. Freeman, did you have anything to say before council goes ahead and
I do not.
makes a statement? I think, Ms. Johnson, you have a statement to say about us letting management do legal services.
Yes. I hereby move that council authorize town manager Brian Freeman to execute a contract for temporary legal services.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Here none. Can we do a roll call vote on that? Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Taylor, aye.
Patterson, aye.
Yeah, my God.
All right. So that is passed, and there's nothing else on the agenda, so we are adjourned.